What the? Oh no! It appears I was sleeping on Team Sonic Racing. Okay, so in full honesty, I completely planned on not buying Team Sonic Racing. The trailers weren't doing anything for me, the gameplay looked whatever, and the soundtrack looked fire, but not enough for me to spend $40. But lucky for me, whenever I got a Humble Bundle deal on all the Sonic games on Steam, this little racing extravaganza was included in the package. Never really played it until I finally had enough space on my PC a couple days ago, and wow! This is one amazing kart racer. I've made it fairly known that Sonic Riders is probably my favorite Sonic racing game out there, but lo and behold, Sumo Digital made a pretty close contender for the #1 spot. I'm only saying close for dramatic effect, Sonic Riders is still the best Sonic racing game, go check out my video on it. And now after all this time about hearing the game was average, or at the very least not as good as Transformed, I've just gotta say,
cringe before Zavok.
In my humble opinion, I like this game more than Transformed, but let's talk about why exactly that is. I mean, after all, there is definitely just as many similarities as there are differences between these two games, so what exactly drew me more to this game than Transform ever did? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about why I think that Team Sonic Racing is the second best Sonic racing game in the entire series. First up on the chopping block is the gameplay. So, let's be fair and acknowledge how Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed nearly perfected the control of Sonic in a go-kart. Transformed was very Mario Kart in its approach, but it became more of a drifting-focused game. You see, whenever you drift, you gain boost, and once you release the drift, your character shoots off in whatever direction that you were going. Now, what makes this such a great mechanic is the unique track design it naturally lends itself to. Unfortunately, Transform doesn't take full advantage of that because there are often times that you're basically just going in a straight line. But this is a mistake. I personally believe that the drift separates itself from the crowd in a fantastic way by allowing the game to remain accessible, yet still have a gradual learning curve that incentivizes you to master the drift. Alongside the drift, it separated itself with the trick system. When airborne, you were allowed to flip in any direction you aimed the right analog stick, which allowed you to gain boost whenever you landed. Of course, if you mess up and hit the ground, you lose all your speed. Now, those mechanics, as I said, were already in Transform, that's what I've been describing. But here's how I think Team Sonic Racing does perfect Sonic control in a go-kart. Team Sonic Racing embraces these techniques and goes the full 9 yards, making their use integral to the game instead of simply being a very useful gameplay mechanic. The track design in TSR is now almost nothing but curves, making drifty a necessity for high-skill play. And on top of that, the trick system is now heavily encouraged with hills and ledges aplenty. Now granted, Transform did have lots of hills and ledges, but Team Sonic Racing implements way more in every single one of their tracks, not just a select few. Luckily, I'd actually ended up revisiting Transform just a week before I ended up playing Team Sonic Racing, so the mechanics and the gameplay were all really fresh in my mind, and I was able to better see how things were changed in Team Sonic Racing. None of it is a fundamental shakeup, just extremely subtle yet effective changes to the approach on track design that make the unique aspects of Transform the entire point of Team Sonic Racing, which is an absolutely fantastic thing that perfects the gameplay in my opinion. But in all fairness, that's just about all the comparisons I want to make in terms of this game and Transformed. I'm not trying to convince you which is better or anything like that, but instead, I'm trying to say why you should actually play Team Sonic Racing, and how it has its own merits, which makes it, in my opinion, the best Sonic kart racing game. So in doing just that, let's talk about the unique aspects of Team Sonic Racing itself. What separates this racer from anything else in the genre is its team mechanic. This mechanic puts racers in a team of 3, in which they can utilize each other's skill to gain an advantage. If a teammate is ahead, you can enter their slipstream to gain speed and get up to their position. What's so excellent about this is how it greatly helps those lagging behind, but also requires those same struggling players to improve in order to stay in the slipstream. It's a constant, tangible reward for players improving their skills at the game. To add to the game's uniqueness, it actually harkens back to Sonic Riders. Characters are in 3 different classes. The Speed characters have well-rounded stats and high speed. Technique class have great handling for tight drifts and corners, and Power types can open up new paths using their strength. But honestly, these don't matter too much, as each character has a good chance of winning on the track, whether in a team or by yourself, especially with the right customization. Oh right, you can customize your own car, and it's probably one of the best parts of the game. I was always aware this game had this feature, obviously, but I didn't know that car parts actually affected your car's stats in-game. The decals are totally meaningless, and same with the paint, of course, so those can be however you want. But the fact that you can change your car parts to be as cool as you want and as practical as you want, This definitely helps players pick their own favorite character and still get the playstyle that they want. Although this is not a groundbreaking feature, the amount of different car parts per character, as well as the stickers and paint options, are varied enough for this to for sure be a worthwhile feature of the game. And although this is more surface level stuff, the visuals in soundtrack are sublime. I mean, it almost goes without saying with Jun Sonoy and T-Lopes behind this OST, but the remixes and originals here are aplenty, and they are just pleasures to listen to. As for the visuals, this is easily the best looking Sonic game to date. The lighting, textures, reflections, and particles, they blow everything beforehand out of the water. It's sad when you think about it, but Sonic Unleashed used to hold the title of the best looking Sonic game, even though Sonic Forces came out on even better hardware. It is truly a shame, honestly. But this game looks absolutely fantastic. And as for the selection of characters, I actually really enjoy the roster here. I like all of the characters on this list, even Zavok, yes, I think that he's fine, and his new voice actor actually makes me like the character a little bit more than the old one. And as far as the stages go, well, I think that they're all great. They all follow the similar act structure of mainline Sonic games, and I think that each one of them does a really great job at making them feel both distinct and as part of the same motif.
Rocket!
Oh my god, nah, I'm just kidding. This is actually a really cool place to put the Wisps. The Wisps are something that I've never really minded. They don't make any sense story-wise, but if they literally just explain that they wanted to stick around, I wouldn't mind them as power-ups in the series. It's just a shame that they haven't been very fun to use since Sonic Colors, and as I said earlier, weren't explained on why they stuck around. But in a kart racer? Genius. Legitimately, these things make total sense here, as it's a spin-off kart racer, and as power-ups for Sonic, they make great defense, projectile weaponry, heck, even using them for boost is awesome here. I don't really want Wisps to return in mainline games unless made fun and not excessively used, but putting them in extended material like this is something I am totally down with. And let's not pretend that Transformed had a better selection of items. It didn't. One is literally a rocket. Yeah, that screams Sega, alright. Talking over single-player content, things honestly get pretty standard but nonetheless appreciated. So let's make one thing clear. Having a kart racing spin-off with an engaging story has got to be one of the most difficult tasks I can imagine getting in the writer's room. That being said, some of the interactions here are pretty sweet, honestly. The mainline games never acknowledge Blazes from a separate dimension. I know it's been that way in the IDW comics recently, but once more I stress, in-game, they've never really mentioned it, and I'm very glad that Team Sonic Racing once more establishes that as game canon. Silver came back to race not because of a destroyed future, but instead because he was invited, which is a nice change of pace for him. Overall, these interactions are just very pleasant banter. Cut me some slack, guys. As a Sonic fan, not everything is a secret masterpiece. These are just some cute cutscenes with excellent voice direction from the returning cast. That being said, the new cast is kinda eh. Like, Knuckles I think just straight up sucks. It sounds like he's trying to impersonate Knuckles, but can't. Silver's new voice actor, Bryce Papenbrook, is just his normal boy voice. Not his fault, I've just heard him in so many anime roles before. He's not bad, but I do prefer 06 and Forces Silver more. But as for single-player content other than story mode, well, it's basically just Time Attack, which is a fun time sink, but not where the real meat lies. A racing game inherently has the purpose of competing built into its core. And here's where the team mechanic once again makes this game shine. I played a multiplayer session off camera, so unfortunately I don't have any footage of it, but surprisingly enough, we decided not only to go team mode instead of standard mode, but also played on the same team. The sense of companionship that team mode brings to the table is a very refreshing one for the kart racing scene. Instead of walking away with a sense of unresolved anger because your winning opponent wouldn't give you just one more race, instead, it's a pretty entertaining bonding experience. Having both players help each other to better their skills and stay in the lead in order to dominate the competition is extremely rewarding. Especially on hard mode and above, the AI can become pretty fierce competition, so whenever you and your squad manage to get a win against them, all members of the team feel more satisfied both individually and as a unit. Obviously, this makes for one entertaining game to come back to and revisit often, as once you've had your fair share of group improvement, you can have your own teams and race against each other, leading your own band of AI or real companions on opposite teams. And like I said a moment ago, the game also contains a standard mode that completely disregards the team mechanic for anyone wanting some classic old school karting action. I regret not picking up Team Sonic Racing day one. I have been thoroughly surprised by this game, and the purchase was well worth it. I know lots of fans have been on the fence about this game, but please give it a shot. This game is genuinely worth your time and money, and I hope it has a resurgence in popularity in the years to come. With its fantastic refinement of its kart racing gameplay, great solo and multiplayer content, and phenomenal graphics, I heavily advise you do not sleep on Team Sonic Racing.